I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Ron Wyden spoke on the Senate floor Wednesday, moments after the Senate voted against moving forward with the Women's Health Protection Act. If the legislation did pass, it would have codified abortion rights into federal law. Wyden said the result of the vote was, quote, a gut punch. Here's more from the Oregon Democrat.
Without objection.
Mr. President, earlier today, the Senate took one of the most significant votes I've been a part of in my time in public service. While the Women's Health Protection Act didn't pass, this vote made it very clear where every senator stands. The Republicans unanimously voted to criminalize abortion in more than half the states in America in just a few weeks. Democrats vowed to stop the Alito court from turning the clock back on women's health by a century. Let's be very clear about the consequences of this ruling when it becomes final. It will immediately criminalize abortion in many states. It will allow Republicans to pass a law criminalizing abortion in all 50 states. It will throw out the constitutional right to privacy, a right upon which marriage and choice and many other civil rights depend. And it will put government and governments in control of women's bodies for millions and millions of people across America. This is a terrifying prospect. It's no secret that people have been considering what would happen if and when this far-right Supreme Court would throw out Roe. Less than a month ago, I was on the floor talking about the end of Roe and the danger to Griswold versus Connecticut, the case that affirmed the right of married people to use contraception. However, it is still a shock, a gut punch, to see how eager our colleagues on the other side are to strip women of their constitutional freedoms and endanger their lives. They're going a lot further, Mr. President, than simply overturning Roe. All the talk about states' rights seems to have gone out the window. The goal is a federal abortion ban, federal criminalization. Already, Republicans, including governors and state house leaders, are talking about banning birth control. I'll say that again. This year, 2022, not 50, 75 years ago, 2022, they're talking about banning birth control. Already there are plans to restrict people's freedom of movement, criminalizing women who travel to other states for an abortion, even the person who gives them a ride. No sugarcoating can be done here. They're talking about enacting laws that reach beyond state borders, harken back to the darkest days of our history. This far-right Alito court has already given far-right lawmakers a green light to do what it wishes to do when it comes to abortion. There is no reason to trust this court will draw the line at restricting women's freedom of movement. Another closely related issue that ought to frighten millions of women is the prospect that with abortion criminalized, women's personal data is going to be weaponized against them by bounty hunters and the government. I've been sounding the alarm for years about the abuse of location data taken from people's cell phones. In a world where Sam Alito is in charge of abortion laws, that is one massive, massive crisis. Shady data brokers are already tracking women who go to Planned Parenthood clinics, and they'll sell that data to anybody around who's got a credit card. Imagine for a moment what not just prosecutors, but these deranged far-right vigilantes can do with this data. The apps women use, the websites they visit, the places they go, all of it can be used against them by prosecutors. In short, Mr. President, this is uterus surveillance. That's what's coming down the pike unless Congress acts and gets serious about consumer privacy and prohibiting the government from making end runs around the Fourth Amendment. It is a shock to me how little concern there seems to be for some of these big issues. It's a full-out sprint towards massive government overreach and severe restrictions on women's freedom and privacy. Mr. President, there is zero thought, given to victims of rape. There is zero thought given to victims of incest. There's zero thought to women being exploited after being forced to seek backroom abortions. Zero thought given to how many more women will die as a result of this ruling. Complications during pregnancy could become a death sentence. In states like Texas, where law enforcement has already shown the willingness to arrest a woman for having a miscarriage, a woman's tragedy of losing a baby can be compounded by the very real threat of criminal prosecution. Through all of this, abortions will still happen. They'll just happen in conditions that are much less safe than they are now. I know that there are members on the other side who are always quoted as saying they care about these issues. They've been saying it for years. Yet now the Senate is at this moment. Not a single Republican senator voted to protect the law as it stands today. The vast majority of people in Oregon and all across the country oppose what the Alito Court is inflicting on them by tossing out Roe. This is extreme judicial radicalism, proof that these justices were pretty much blowing smoke when they told senators they would respect precedent if they were confirmed. The bottom line now is this: if you don't have control over your own body, you are not free. The Alito Court is denying women control over their own bodies. This is an attack on their freedom, a denial of Americans' right to privacy. Criminalizing abortion is wrong, plain and simple. And you have to ask, and certainly people from one end of the country to another tonight are going to ask, how can this be allowed to stand? So tonight is not the end of this battle. The Senate has taken one vote. Now Americans must cast their vote and make it clear whether they want to be part of Mitch McConnell's new reality. I yield the floor, Mr. President, and I note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.